Hello and welcome. I am your host of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Author Karen E. Osborne. I have five novels out. The latest is Justice for Emerson. I am so glad that you're here. This is a space for readers and writers to come together and talk about books. So you want to laugh today because we have such a funny and wonderful book to talk about today. I want you to meet Gregory Grosvenor. Oh dear, Gregory, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Grosvenor. The S is silent.
Grosvenor. Yes,
Grosvenor, yeah. Just pretend like you didn't see the S.
Grosvenor.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And so Greg has written, so he was a short story writer and a teacher. He teaches, he still does. He teaches writing, right? And but now he has this debut novel that just came out and in last February, this February of this year, and it was described as a mix of crime, comedy, and small town charm. Second pocket first. Greg, can you show us the beautiful cover?
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's wild.
And what's sticking out of the book on the top?
Oh, I did a reading a couple weeks ago, and I just had my sections marked out, the different chapters, the different segments I was reading from it, and I didn't bother taking little markers out, the little page
I
markers
like
out.
it
Yeah.
though. It adds something. It adds
It
some
gives it a little
beauty.
texture, right?
Yes, I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. So tell
Thanks.
us about your writing journey. How hard or how easy was it to go from short stories to a full length novel?
Well, the hardest thing is really writing short stories. So going from writing a novel, a long form, from short stories was a really sort of easy transition to me, because a
Mm.
short story, every line is in service to the story's outcome. Every line is in service to the character's development by the end. And so once I transitioned into writing a longer thing, I was really prepared for not wasting any time, making sure that all the meat was used on the bone, every character carried their share of water to the finish line. Um, in my writing, I like to have chapters that feel like short stories, that feel like complete
Mm.
dramatic actions. With
Mm.
For me, it's the three C's: conflict, opening, complications, the majority of it, and then the climax. And so, this book, Second Pocket First, once again, is 41 chapters. And each chapter, I feel, gives the reader a little bit of a complete dramatic action by the end. So it wasn't that challenging to move ahead. This is my third completed manuscript, though. So,
Ah,
yeah. So
okay.
my first two were just, young, I would say young man's writing, in that it was not any good. It was more ego. It was more ego than anything else. And this is where I finally took all of my excesses and moved them aside. And learning to write the short story was really helpful. I've written a lot of short stories, but I've only written really two that are any good, you know? So,
Mm. So
yeah.
I have a wonderful writer friend and coach. And she does just what you said. She makes sure every chapter can be a standalone short story. And she posts them sometimes as short stories to get people to come buy the book. So tell us the premise. Tell us what this funny and charming story that also has crime in it. Give us the setting and the premise of the
Mm-hmm.
story.
This is a very Vermont book. I lived in Vermont for about 4 years, and in my late 20s and early 30s, and I had grown up in Bavaria in Germany, in a small farm town
Mm.
in a town called Ansbach, and when I moved to the States, Vermont, I'd never been there. Vermont reminded me most of Germany, of that part of Europe. And so Vermont has a really cool, I think, setting in our imaginations more than like New Hampshire, or any of the other New England, northeastern states, sort of winter wonderland charm. And it
Mm.
has that small town feel. I mean, so many Hallmark movies have this, the Hallmark Christmas movies
Yeah.
are all Vermont. I mean, they're not filmed in Vermont. They're always filmed in like Toronto. Um, but they're all like have this place where the imagination can really roam. And so
Mm.
I wanted to have this book as my tribute to Vermont in a way of being sort of making fun of Vermont a little bit. It's a great place to really make fun of because it does take itself pretty seriously, and it
Mm.
is very resistant to change, very resistant to me. Vermont wasn't a big fan of mine. Uh, I wasn't really ready for the brutal winters and I'm not a great driver to begin with, so I didn't really learn how to drive
Uh-oh.
in the snow all that great. Not the friendliest of places, but it just has this charm, and it really lured me in. So it does take place in Vermont, and a sort of a slow-witted, fashion-forward burglar comes to this small Vermont town to regain his confidence and self-esteem. He's just been kicked out of his gang for not being very good at what he does. He has one skill, and that's lockpicking. Everything else he was terrible at. He is, more concerned with the props and this, he struggles with his weight, so he's always dealing with his shapewear and always doing chin exercises. Um, he's very, very poor instincts. In the opening, he's so happy. He's got this new Cuban heel, and he's kicked out instantly because the gang boss says is that a Cuban heel, and the character Izzy says, "Oh yeah, it's just stunning, right? He says, you're out. I can hear you coming a mile away." And so he comes to Vermont. He comes to this small town to restore his confidence and to do some very light breaking and entering. And it takes place during the holiday season. And it does have a little bit of a holiday feel. Now, it's not a holiday novel, but it can be, you get the visualization of the snow and the markets and a wreathy wonderland happening. So in this process, this sort of idiot is in Vermont doing some, massive destruction of, breaking and pillaging in people's homes. And in the process, he recovers something that this town, this valley town in Vermont, has lost. That's a big deal in this town through no witting action of his own.
He
It becomes a
stumbles.
town. He stumbles into good fortune and becomes the town hero. And so instead of really, nurturing that goodwill, he decides to leverage it into a con and then screws
Mm.
everything.
Mm.
And this is all happens really relatively quickly in the book. And so it's about community. It has a real community feel. It's the story where a lot of the secondary characters are, quite fun. And they, like just a short story, they get their cameos are really a lot of fun. So it's centered in this small town. It's very much like the TV show Schitt's Creek with Eugene
Yes.
Levy, and it's very much like that. And how do you have a book? How do you have a show that's full of positivity as your central conflict? And my conflicts are when good things happen and they shouldn't happen. And what
Mm.
does a person do with those good things? How do they respond to it? They usually make bad decisions. And so it's that, he gets in a relationship with a person he barely knows her name. I mean, he's just an idiot. Um,
He sounds like an idiot you like. What
yes.
what what do you like about him?
Well, I do like his innocence. He's not mean spirited, although, we've realized that he is, really, breaking the rules of protection by being in people's homes. And he likes just the going through things and seeing what things are and going through drawers and cabinets. He's not even really great at stealing. He doesn't steal good things. I mean, he'll stumble into cool things or expensive things, but most of it's just nonsense. Um, he is relatively harmless. He's not a violent person. He doesn't like
Mhm.
guns. He lives by this sort of code that's really outdated. There is a criminal element that he just feels that, well, it's not a part of him. So in the telling of this book, I did have to reconcile with the fact that he is breaking people's sense of security and privacy. And even though it is a comedy, there has to be some degree of like, well, that is there. So how do we punish this person for a novel that does, trade in stupidity? And one of the things is that, well, who is conning whom, right? Who is, maybe something is happening behind the scenes that this guy is not a part of, that is a part of the hive mind at the town that he can't quite understand.
Mm.
Um, so again, everything is, I love this book so much. I really like the character. I'm really tickled by it. Um,
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
yeah,
If a writer can laugh through their book or cry through their book, depending on what they were trying to get the reader to do, then that's a great sign. So can you tell us the significance of the title?
yeah. The title's weird. It's a really cool title. It's a title I've been sitting on for years, and a part of a conversation that I didn't like character. You know how when you take notes, you're just noting things down and just going. For me, I like to go as far into absurdity as possible, and that title it's sort of along the lines of like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Hmm.
That book is not about killing birds. This is the same sort of thing. It is the main character, Izzy, um, as it's just talking casually to somebody who's looking for something he had in fact stolen. And he's saying, it's never where you think it's going to be. Like when you go look for your keys or like paper clips in your pocket, that first pocket is always wrong. So that's why you always want to go to the second pocket first. It doesn't. It's so stupid. I mean, and the person looks at him like, what is wrong with you? That doesn't. So how do you even do? And it's like that's why you always want to do that second pocket first. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But in the process, he gets second pocketed first because the thing that he thinks he's going for is missing. So it is that sort of that twist at the end. Um,
That's cool. I love it.
it's a really cool
I love
thing,
it. So
Yeah.
I read somewhere, I can't remember where I read it. Maybe it was in our correspondence that music plays an important role in the book. And just there's been just like so many authors that I've spoken to recently where music, and even in my own book, Justice for Emerson, I have her playing, she has a playlist in her head, and depending on what's going on, she pulls up just the right music to go for,
Mm.
what's happening
Oh, really?
in her head. So tell us about the role of music in Second Pocket first.
Well, not so much in the book. There are, I think, a couple references to songs. Um, there is a dance party scene. There's a kind of at one of it's there's like a hotel and there's a hotel bar downstairs, a basement bar. Every like once a month they have the winter of our disco tent. I mean everything is a stupid pun. Um, and there's a big party scene there. But in my writing life, music plays
Mm,
a big part. So I think that
mm,
um, do you listen to music when you write? Do you write with music on? You don't.
mm.
Wow. So I do.
I can't even have any noise anywhere. I'm so easily distracted. And I
Oh
love
wow.
music so much that when my husband is playing, like he likes to build a house with music, I start, singing in my head and I'm just too easily distracted. I love music
Oh
though.
see. Yeah. See, I have to get to the sort of the euphony of language through music, and I'm constantly listening for escape. Actually, I don't do streaming or Spotify or anything, not because I'm some hipster, but just because I like the control of records. And actually I want to show the records that have been a part of the making of this
Yeah, I'd love
book.
to see that.
Um, because I'm obsessive. I take notes. I take like, what did you do during the day? What did you, I'll take like a written note, and I'll also write down the albums I listen to. One of my favorites right now is Gonzalo Rubancala's album. This is a Cuban jazz musician. I don't know if, yeah, it's a
I
Cuban
love
jazz
the
musician.
cover.
It's such a beautiful cover. It is like Hollywood Regency is brilliant, and it has such rhythm that it helps me in my rhythm as a writer.
Mm.
Another album, Dr. Umizu. He's a saxophonist, an avant-garde saxophonist, Japanese. It is so brilliant, and the colors and the dynamism
I
in
was
this
just going to say
cover,
another gorgeous cover.
it's so cool. But it's such a dramatic album that it gives me rhythm as a writer. Two more, Propaganda. We were talking about your book cover, and it reminded me of this Propaganda, the album cover, for some reason because of
The dress.
the the
Yeah.
dress, right? This is a German, an art German group from the 1980s, and it is such high drama. A lot of my stories do, it is high drama, and it's high, quote unquote, high art, but bad high art, and propaganda is like that. But the king or the queen of them all is Freddie Mercury's Mr. Bad Guy. This is everything for me. This album, it's the sunglasses edition. You know, and he's a favorite. And Freddie Mercury, I adore him because one of his things is he aspires to bad taste, and that is my aspiration as a writer, is to hit the right notes of bad taste while also catering it to strong storytelling. And it's
Sounds
funny.
very cool. That sounds very, very cool. Are you working on anything now?
I am. I'm working on two novels at the same time. So, Second Pocket First is a Vermont novel, very Northeast, and it's a male character. And I wanted to, I lived in Virginia for some time. I don't, because my sensibilities are European, being in the States is interesting to me. So I feel like, I can mentally go anywhere. And I lived in Virginia for a while, and it's a Virginia novel, Virginia, North Carolina novel, two female characters, a really bad writer. She's, it's set in the community college, wins a short story prize for a story she did not write. And she is a bad writer, and bad at all aspects of writing, including the punctuation, including her use of first person to third person. She is just bad at all of it, but she loves writing. So it's two female characters. One is pretty slow-witted, but means well. Another one is very serious. And it's two people who should not be friends having to become friends. One is holding on to a lie that the audience knows. The other one has lies that the audience doesn't know. So it's that. And another one is called The Matinee Eight. And I was at a movie the other day, and something weird happened at the movie. And so I just went to a coffee shop and wrote it all down in like 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, I have this other novel that is, I need to write. So,
Oh,
but as
that's
long as
so
they're,
fun.
yeah,
No, that is
you know,
so cool. Inspiration comes from that happens to me. I'm never without paper because
yeah,
I'll see somebody and I'll think, oh my gosh, that's a character. That's a
yeah,
character. Like break down what is she wearing? What is she doing? What is she, it just comes to us from every place we go, there's a story. A story.
yeah. And anything that's a contrasting image is my favorite thing. Particularly when, living in Boston, living like in the city, there's a lot of people live, and this, people live in public. So, I'm never in a car. So when people are in the train on the T, they're listening to music, they're doing their makeup,
Mhm.
they're living out loud, they're having breakdowns in front of others. And to me, that's like, I have to write this down, They're
Yes,
checking their
yes.
email next to a writer. Like, never check your phone when you're sitting next to a writer. I'm writing down all of your things.
You're living out loud. That's a great,
Yeah.
great descriptor. I love that. So when you think about your influences as a writer, was there an author or a book that had like a really big impact on your writing?
Yeah. So when I actually didn't really enjoy, I didn't enjoy reading in school. I didn't like a lot of that. I always felt that there was something else because I knew that books were interesting. I liked stories, I liked storytelling. I like being entertaining. So it's really always fun when you're young and you find a book on your own. And it was this book here. I don't know if the screen is getting it, but it's
Yep.
Will Self's Quantity Theory of Insanity. And Will
Mm.
Self he's still a living author. Will
Hmm.
Self is a very 90s British book. And he is known for his vocabulary that is a little bit out of control. And his stories are really complex and very difficult to follow. But as a young person, in like my 20s or whatever, I was like, oh, this is the greatest writer of all time. And there was an article about the first sentence of this collection is his first book, about how the promise of his career was built on this first sentence about his mother dying. Cancer tore through her body as if it were late for an important meeting with a lot of other successful diseases.
Wow.
And that is a ridiculous way to describe that. And I thought, okay, I'm in. And so I always like this writer, and he takes a lot of risks. Many of them don't pay off, but I'd rather read a writer who fails going all in on risk taking than somebody who just plays it safe. So he's a gem to me.
I'd love to be in a book club with you. So, have you read have you read something recently that you could recommend to our audience?
Rachel Ingalls. Anything by Rachel Ingalls. She is she's well no longer alive. I think she died in 2006, but she was a Massachusetts writer. She moved to England, and she has a book called Mrs. Caliban that has been re-released. All of her books deal with unhappy uh, marriages, and then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden something ridiculous happens that it's the fiction of extremities. And it's I have never been more frightened when I read her stories. They are very dark. They're very plain. She foregoes character. She breaks all the rules of writing. Very
Mm.
little character description, very little setting, and yet we cannot stop. And I am
Wow.
addicted to her lately. This is a collection of novellas. If I'm saying that the most pretentious way, novellas. Um, it's Patricia Lockwood opens has a great opening for it. It's a real. I mean, she's just blowing up, and I cannot stress her more. And everybody I recommend it to, they say, "What? Where
They
has this
love it
person
too.
been?"
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So guys, you heard that here. You heard that here. So, besides being able to get Greg's books on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and your local independent store or wherever you borrow books. And if you don't find it on the shelf, just go up and ask, and they will get it for you, and then that'll get them ordering them. So go and ask. But besides that, where else can they find out about you, be in touch with you? Because they're really excited now.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Gregory.Grosvenor on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. But my website, GregoryGrosvenor.com. Also, you can order books. I will sign it. I will, personalize if you want to have a signature. And so you can order through that. Amazon's great. I mean, however you want to reach out and send me a message, I'll respond to it. It's really cool meeting readers. You know how it is, Karen, when people reach out. It's
That's
really
the
cool.
best part. Meeting readers is the absolute best part.
You're connecting with strangers,
Yeah,
through your stories. It's so cool.
it is. It's a wonderful thing. So I know that Greg has gotten you very excited. So I want you to buy his book. I want you to read his book. I want you to review his book because you know how important reviews are. They really count and
Yeah.
matter. And when you do reach out to him on his website, please let him know that you met him on What Are You Reading? What are you writing? See you guys next week, and thank you so much for being with us. And thank you, Greg. Bye,
Thanks so much,
everybody.
Karen. All right.